Right? When people are like, "Oh, physical media is gonna go away," maybe so, but not today. Not like Batman, who was always sad all the time. Like, "Oh, gotta be Batman today," He's like, "Yeah, I gotta be a superhero and fight a dragon."
Yeah.
I'm like, "Oh my gosh, this one's a snooze fest." I don't know how people do it. But
Hey friends, welcome to the Plat X2 channel. My name is John, and on this channel we talk all things physical media, movies, music, and books. And this is a new episode of The Five. And today we've got Mike. How's it going, Mike?
it's going good. How about yourself?
Doing very well. So anyway, friends, if you're not familiar with Mike's channel, he's got a great channel, Mega Mike the Movie Man. So
Yeah.
that's who we have today. And so anyway, Mike, thanks so much for doing this. We've chatted a little bit, and I do want to say thank you. I was on a live stream of yours last night. It won't be the same timeline when this gets released, but thanks so much for having me. It was really, really fun.
Oh, yeah. Of course, you're always welcome to the channel and all the streams. And thanks for having me on this first time on your channel. So I'm super excited.
It is, man. I'm looking forward to it. And last night, friends, if you did not catch the stream last night on Mike's channel, we talked about movies related to time. It can be time travel, it can be just time in general, and it was really good. And then Mike has a ton of other ones too, where he's got all of these different creators, movie collectors on talking about favorite films, all really, really good stuff. So you got a great channel, man.
Oh, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, I do have. So one of the things I actually love about your channel, and I've been watching through a bunch of these, and I had questions on two of the films. So you do a segment on your shorts called Out of the Theater Reactions. So two films I want to ask you about, and neither of them I've seen. Both of them I'm interested in. The first one I want you to sell me on, and it's The Flash. Now I know you and your wife saw it. You have thumbs up and a thumbs down. But you were for it. You enjoyed it. I was planning on seeing it in theater, but it went out so quick that I didn't get a chance to see it at my local theater. So tell me a bit about like why I should watch it, because I actually was really interested in it, but it didn't do so well.
Yeah, so The Flash, I did enjoy overall. That's why I gave it a thumbs up. And you know me, I'm the superhero kind of person, so I'm pretty easy on the superhero genre. So
Uh-huh.
usually it's easy to get a thumbs up. So it wasn't like a massive two thumbs up. It's not my favorite superhero film of the year. That's still Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
Mhm.
But I still like The Flash overall. Flash is my favorite DC character. The time travel stuff is cool in there. And actually, Ezra Miller was a standout. I've never been a massive Ezra Miller fan, but this is Ezra's best work by far, in my opinion, because he has to play against himself. And that takes some acting chops. So that was the most unique part to me. I like how they wove in the backstory of how he gets his powers. Of course, they have a ton of other characters and cameos in there. Everybody knows from the trailers, you get Michael Keaton, you get Supergirl in there. And Supergirl was actually really, really good. I was kind of shocked by that as well. So the acting talents there, I will say the story suffers a little bit. It's not the best Flash story of all time. They could have done a lot more with it. So it does falter on the story a little bit, and I know people hate the visuals in it. Like people have complained so much about the CGI. To me, first time seeing the movie, the CGI didn't really affect me too much, but I know that's a major complaint there. So it's a fun movie if you like superhero movies. If you have not liked superhero movies, you're not a DC fan, this one will not sell you on it. It wouldn't be the one I would be like, oh, this is gonna win someone over here. It's
Okay.
more mid-tier DC at best.
So where would you put it like with like an Aquaman?
Oh, I loved Aquaman. Aquaman, I'd say 10 times better.
Oh, really?
But
Okay.
I'm a massive Aquaman fan. Aquaman was one of my like when I saw Aquaman for the first time, now I've kind of lowered my, score a little bit. When I saw it the first time, I'm like, "Oh, this is one of the best movies of all time. I love this movie. This was so much fun. Jason Momoa was perfect, and you got Black Manta in there, which was my favorite Aquaman villain. So I really like the Aquaman story. Yeah, that's a lot better story in my opinion. Just better pace, more well written, and really focuses on the Aquaman character. Which the Flash, once again, you got so many characters in there, it takes away from the Flash himself. So,
Okay. I'll tell you what hooked me was when I found out Michael Keaton was in it, because just the
yeah.
nostalgia of seeing him, and I know they used like his classic lines, and it's in the trailer, so it's not giving anything away. To me, that was like, I have to see this film no matter what.
Yeah, Michael Keaton is very good in the movie. Yeah,
I
and
watched
he's in
one.
a lot of it.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I watched one review that someone said Michael Keaton is so good in it, and he's such a scene stealer, and there's such nostalgia around it that he almost like becomes more of the focus or more attention on him.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. And that's the tough thing with that movie, which is why I did not want them to go with that story of pulling in the different characters, going all the multiverse stuff, especially for a first Flash movie. This is the first time we're getting a Flash live action movie, and to me they overcomplicated it, too overly ambitious. It's just they try to do too much with it, and then yeah, you did lose focus on the Flash character, which once again, I'm a big Flash fan. I'm like, there's so many good just solo Flash storylines. We didn't have to bring in all the nostalgia stuff, but that's what all the studios are doing these days. Try to give you nostalgia, cameos, Easter eggs, references. I call it all the fan service gravy stuff they try to pour on every movie now to
Gotcha.
sell it.
Well, it'll probably be a for me. My guess is like Black Friday. These are going to be on sale. Probably get a killer price on it around Black Friday. So I'll definitely be picking it up.
Yeah, I pre-ordered the 4K steelbook, overpriced.
Okay.
All for superhero steelbooks, it doesn't matter. Marvel, DC, those are the ones I always get, no matter what. Just because I know
Yeah.
I will rewatch it a whole bunch of times, even though I may not love it as much, I'll still rewatch it probably every year or two. So
Gotcha. So what would for you be near the top for DC films, and what for you would be near the bottom for the DC? Everyone does the Marvel rankings, but I
yeah.
never hear people talk about their DC kind of like spectrum.
And are we talking DCEU or just DC in general? Because DC is such
Let's go
a broad
EU,
area.
DC EU.
Okay, DCEU. Oh, that's a. I know Aquaman's near the top, if not
Okay.
the top. Well, actually, I know in one of our questions, I will be talking about another one.
Okay.
Um, so I don't know if I want to ruin it now, but I will say the Shazam movies are very
Okay.
high towards the top. Yeah, those are probably the top ones. Man of Steel. Actually, you know what? I might give it the Man of Steel.
Okay.
That's a very underrated movie to me. I really love Man of Steel. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm so sad we didn't get a sequel to that one.
You know what? I've tried watching it multiple times. I didn't grow up a Superman guy. I grew up Spider-Man, Batman, Incredible Hulk. Those were kind of the three that I read everything I could read on those guys. Um, but Henry Cavill's killer in the role. He looks great and it was done well. So it is one I need to revisit for sure.
Yeah.
But
And I'm trying to think the lower end. I don't really have any at the very low end. I don't think any of them are unwatchable or are terrible in any way. So it's tough to say. I know a lot of people say like Wonder Woman 84 or
that's right.
Suicide Squad. And I still can get enjoyment out of those movies, even though there's some major issues in each of them. But they're still fun for me. Like I said, I'm easy on superhero movies. So
Yeah. Cool, man. Well, so we'll go from a fun movie to another one of your theater reactions. This was a very recent one, more serious, and it's a film that unfortunately isn't released near me, so I'm gonna have to travel to see it. But I am really interested in seeing Sound of Freedom, which you and your wife both said was a very emotional experience.
it's so good. It is the hidden surprise of the year in terms of movie watching. I did not know what to expect at all. I thought it was going to be very just low budget, forgettable movie, just nothing memorable. Opposite of all of that. Such a powerful, emotional story. Got me teary eyed by the end of it. I was just like, I was crying during the credits. That's how
Wow.
good the credits are because they give like a special message at the end and show photographs and things of that nature. But even for it being a low budget film, it's still well made on the budget they had. You can see all the camera angles and different like shooting techniques they use, just the lighting. The actors in it really give an all out performance. I was pretty shocked by that as well. The environments they use, I mean, it really goes all out for the type of movie it is. Um, And yeah, once again, it's a tough watch though. So I can't recommend it to everybody. Know what you're getting into, because at first my wife was like, I don't think I can take this. Like she almost wanted to walk out of the theater
Wow.
just because of the subject matter. It's so tough to watch. But she was happy she stayed through it because oh gosh, yeah, got us balling by the end of it. But yeah,
Wow.
Sound of Freedom, I would say that's in top 5 films of the year so far for me. And I'm
Wow.
shocked to say that. Yeah, very shocked to say that, but it was just so good. It's a movie that will stick with you, and a movie that sticks with me, gets me emotional like that. I gotta put it towards the top.
Okay, cool. Yeah, when it came out, when I first heard of it, and you could tell this was not a big studio film. It didn't have the finances behind it and the advertising. I was like, I don't know if I'll have to see this one. And then all of a sudden, I saw just a monster amount of controversy around it. People getting really amped up in support of it, and then people getting really amped up in opposition of it. And I was like, well, now I have to see it because if it's that kind of a film that elicits that kind of visceral response, then it's probably doing something right if it's getting that kind of response from it. So I definitely plan on seeing it.
Yeah, I was surprised about the controversy too because I didn't know it was so controversial. But then I started telling people how I felt about the movie afterwards, and certain people out there are just like, "Yeah, I'm not gonna watch that." I'm like, okay, to
Well,
each their own.
yeah, and I think it just crossed 100 million total, didn't it?
Oh my gosh, I didn't even look at the numbers yet, but if it crossed 100 million, that's amazing for because the budget had to have been super small on that one.
Yeah, and it did. I know one of the things came out this weekend. It was third. And so it beat out the newest Mission Impossible film, which is insane. And I know in its second weekend out, it actually made more than the first weekend. And people aren't putting it in theaters. Like it's not in theaters in every city. So the fact that it's making so much money and it's not that readily available is pretty unbelievable.
Yeah, it wasn't in my local city, so I had to go to a city over. But the theater was packed on a Wednesday afternoon, the most
Wow.
random time. All the seats were filled. I'm like, really? Really for this kind of at this time, you would not expect at all. And like I couldn't even get a great seat. I had to get one of the front rows, but I'm like, I'll take it, whatever.
Wow. Yeah, I definitely got to see it. Definitely. Well, cool, man. Yeah, I really do enjoy watching your out of the theater reactions. They're great, and you and your wife do a great job. And I appreciate that you sometimes you guys have a similar opinion. And
Yep.
like for example, in the Flash one, it was you guys had a different opinion on it. So it is cool that you guys do those together.
Yeah, it's fun to see the opposite opinions and we'll all have shocked expressions. I'm like, what? Did you really just say that?
That's great. Well, friends, check out Mike's channel. It's awesome. And you put out tons of content. So,
Mhm.
and all different kinds. It's not the same thing all the time at all. Lots of different. So, friends, all of the information is going to be below for Mike for Instagram and YouTube. So, check them all out there. And now we're going to go through the five. And so, friends, if you're a first timer here, we ask 5 questions. My guests respond to each question with 5 films. And we get the chance to just talk movies. We get to learn about the creator, the film collector, and we get 25 film recommendations, which isn't bad at all either. So, except for our wallets, that's always difficult. I always leave these conversations and then spend the next like 30 minutes on YouTube watching trailers and
Yep.
destroying my Amazon wish list. So cool, man. Let's go with the very first question. What 5 films have you most recently seen?
All right. So just finished this one last night. Triangle of Sadness from Criterion. Had to pick it up on the sale. I heard such divisive things about this movie. I'm like, I don't know. Am I gonna like this one? Am I not gonna like it? I guess I'll take a chance on it. I will say it's not for everyone. Definitely a not for everyone kind of movie. I enjoyed at least a one-time watch of it, but I don't know how many more times I would rewatch it. So I can't give it a strong recommendation to buy, but I would say if you're interested, check it out streaming or whatnot. I think it's on Max. But yeah, it's an interesting premise, a lot of social commentary, like on different class systems. Very similar to The Menu, if you've seen The Menu at
Okay,
all. But I do prefer The Menu over it. So if you haven't seen The Menu yet, I would check that one out. And that has more of like a kind of a horror suspense element to it. So, but similar ideas in there with the social commentary. But
cool.
yeah, that was an interesting one. And then we just already talked about it, Sound of Freedom. That
Hmm.
was my latest theater watch. So once again, Sound of Freedom. can't promote that one enough. Highly, highly recommend it if you're okay with the subject matter. It's just, like I said, surprise hit of the year for me. So, and then before that, the other night, got this 4K in. So I Married an Axe Murderer. Oh, this movie's so good. And I've seen this one already a few times. I remember growing up watching this one on TV, and just so many scenes, like when he's doing the poetry reading, all those
Yeah.
poems that like just stick out. Oh gosh. But yeah, Mike Myers is great in this movie. And it's a short runtime too, so it's very easy watch. You got comedic elements in there, you got the romance in there. But I was so happy this came out to 4K because I wanted it for the longest time in the collection. It wasn't readily available, and I think the copies they had out there were like super expensive or tough to find. So I'm like, when it goes to 4K, first day pickup. Yeah, so I had to pre-order that one.
The dad in that one, every time he talks, I lose it laughing.
Oh, he's
Everything
so good.
when he's talking about his younger son and the size of his head, when he's at the wedding, the bagpipes. I laugh so hard whenever the dad does anything in that film.
Oh yeah, talking about the what was it called, the Paraverin or something
Oh
like
yeah,
that, the Secret Society.
yeah.
Um, they ended up making a show about it, but I heard the show was terrible, so I never saw
I heard the
it.
same.
Yeah. And then the one before that was Labyrinth on 4K.
Oh, cool.
This was a complete first time watch for me. I just knew Jennifer Connelly was in the movie, and I'm a big fan of hers. You got David Bowie, but it has like puppetry work in it. The puppetry work is great with Jem Henson and all that. So if you like fantasy stories, it's family friendly, I would say. But I guess a little bit more darker than some family stories because of, the creepy puppets and all that. But it was a fun, interesting watch. I probably have to rewatch that one again though.
Cool.
And then the one before that, another theater watch. I'm always at the theater. So Oppenheimer,
Oh
three
yeah.
hour long movie that feels like a 4 hour movie.
Oh
Just to be
really?
straight up. It's a long movie. It's very slow moving. And I kind of have a love-hate relationship with Christopher Nolan. He's made some of my favorite movies of all time. He's made some of my least favorite movies of all time.
Really?
I actually really like him more as a writer than a director. Like, I feel
Okay.
like somebody needs to ring his directing in and like say, okay, we got to get this to a shorter runtime. Let's tell this in a different way. Because he always has great stories. I'm like, it could have been executed a little bit better though. But in terms of Oppenheimer, solid watch. I'd probably put it kind of mid-tier for Nolan movies, but it's very informational. It is really a bio picture about the Oppenheimer character, which I mean, it lives up to the title. I was kind of thinking before maybe it's more about the Manhattan Project. Maybe they're going to show a lot of the fallout with the atomic bombs and all that, but it's not that at all. It's really, I mean, it has a little bit of that in it, but it's really a focus like on Oppenheimer's life, everything from political party associations and all of that. It just covers everything. That's why it's 3 hours.
Wow.
But the visuals are good. Visuals are great, just like any other Nolan movie. The sounds are great. Uh, so yeah, it's a Nolan movie. You know what to expect out of him by now.
Okay. Now
Yeah.
I'm curious. So you say Nolan's got some of your favorites and some of your least.
Yep.
What would be like near the top Nolan and what's near the bottom Nolan for you?
Oh well, I have them in my piles over here. Should I already
Okay.
say it?
Oh, we'll
I know
wait
we'll
then. We'll
definitely
wait.
get to it. But I
Cool,
will
man.
say should I say the bottom? I
Okay,
guess I'll say
go.
the bottom. I apologize, Tim, beforehand. Sorry, I always have to say this
I know
one.
where you're going.
I know it's Dunkirk.
Yeah.
Dunkirk to me, it just bored me to tears the first time watching it. I'm like, oh my goodness, like what's going on? I need something more, something more. And the Dunkirk story is very fascinating. Like I've seen other movies tell that story in a more exhilarating way. It just felt like this moves so slow to tell that story, and I'm like, not really invested in these characters, and just, I don't know what's happening here. It's like watching
Gotcha.
paint dry.
That's good. Well, cool, man. Those are great. Next question. Five films that you have some of your earliest memories from.
Yeah, so I got my pile here. So Rocky 4. I love the Rocky
Yeah.
franchise. I remember my cousin picking this one up and Rocky 3 when I was younger, just rented them from a video store. I think it was Blockbuster, actually. It might have been. But I love this movie. This is one of my favorite movies of all time. I mean, Drago. Drago is just one of the best villains ever. High stakes in the movie with them taking out Apollo Creed. When that happens, you're like, did they really just do that? Like, such
Yeah.
a main prominent character. You're just in shock when that happens. And the fight at the end, but it has everything. All the music, hearts on fire, the best montage training sequences. So yeah, I love Rocky 4. I've seen this movie so many. I think I've seen this movie the most out of any movie out there. Like,
Wow.
this is my most watched movie. Rocky is definitely my most watched franchise of all time. I at least watch the entire franchise at least once a year, but usually ends up being 2 or 3 times. So yeah.
Now, did you pick up the 4Ks on those?
So funny story with that. So I picked up the 4Ks. I was really excited for the Rocky 4 Cup because I've never seen it
Yeah.
before. Yeah. And I saw it and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is just terrible. I hated that movie. I liked the love every single Rocky and Creed movie. I hated the director's cut of Rocky 4. I
Really?
Yeah, I hated it. I'm like, all the changes they made are things I'm like, no, no, those changes shouldn't have happened there. Like, they started giving more speaking lines, and I'm like, no, Drago's menacing just because of his appearance, and when he shows up, just that tone. When he starts talking more, you're just like, oh, this is just like a bozo over here. So it's like things like that, but there's more things in there that just it threw me off. So, and because I love Rocky 4 so much, to change it so much, you know.
I hear you.
So I actually returned it, and I'm like, I'm gonna wait till they all come out on 4K because 5 and 6 are gonna come out
Yeah.
in a 4K collection. And I wasn't too impressed with the 4K discs anyway. I'm like, yeah, they're an upgrade, but I wasn't like jaw dropping. So I'm like, you know what? I watched them through once. I'm okay. I can wait till a whole collection comes out. I have the
Yeah.
Blu-rays, so I'm content with the Blu-rays too.
I'm a massive fan, and I heard so much of what you just said that I was like, I don't know if it's worth me dropping all this money on it now and just wait. Maybe in the future we'll have
Yeah.
something. So I've kept my Blu-rays.
Yeah.
Same thing.
And the Blu-rays are good. I mean,
Yeah.
it is such a slight upgrade in difference. Like, maybe you can see a little bit more of the brightness in certain like boxing shorts, like the reds will pop up and like things like that. But it's so slight, and you really got to be looking for it. To me, it did not make a massive difference at all.
Oh, gotcha.
Uh, and then, of course, we got to have Spider-Man.
Hmm.
This was the first movie I remember going to the theaters and seeing lines for it. Like, there was waiting lines of people wanting to get into the theater to see this movie. I'm like, okay, this is kind of new. I wasn't expecting that. But this movie ends up being amazing.
Yeah.
Sam Raimi can do no wrong. Tobey Maguire is like a perfect Peter Parker. Got a great villain with Green Goblin, played by Willem Dafoe, J. Jonah Jameson. I mean, you just had it all. It was literally like the perfect superhero story for that time, and we didn't really get anything before that too much. We got like Blade and things of that nature, but nothing on this level here. This just took it to a whole new level with him web swinging and all that. Oh, yeah, so great movie.
Absolutely.
Mhm. And then I'm also a big horror fan, but this movie scared me when I was a kid, so I didn't watch it when I was a super little kid, but I came back to it later and just fell in love with the movie. Gotta have Halloween H2O, Halloween 20 years later. Yeah, when this came on when I was a kid, once again, it's another movie my cousin rented. The family was watching it that was over there. And I walked into the room and I was terrified of Michael Myers. I'm like, okay, nope, not for me. Let me leave. I'm gonna have nightmares forever now. But I'm like, one day I'm like, you know what? I want to conquer my fear. So I'm gonna go back and rewatch this movie. And so I was a little bit older of a kid, went back, watched it, fell in love with the movie. And I just could relate to conquering your fears because that's what it's all about when Jamie Lee Curtis, has that showdown at the end. Like, right when she, with the gate closing, grabs the axe and starts screaming, Michael, and they go into that awesome throwdown and then cutting the head off at the end. That was super shocking. So, yeah,
Very
can't
cool.
do better than that one. Then another one that's really good for the Halloween season, but more family friendly. Hocus Pocus. Yes, I would watch this one at my grandma's all the time. But I was still kind of scared of this one actually when I was a little kid because I'm like, oh, there's some creepy imagery in here. But yeah, I just watched it all the time on VHS. So how to shout out Hocus Pocus. Yeah.
I'm embarrassed to say I've never seen it. Um,
Never seen
Never
Hocus
seen it.
Pocus. Oh, it's so good. Yeah, I would be curious to see your thoughts on it if it still keeps up. I was so disappointed with Hocus Pocus 2, though. I couldn't
Oh,
even finish
really?
that one. I couldn't finish it. I think I got like 20
Wow.
minutes in or 30 minutes in. I'm like, I'm out. And apparently they're doing a third one. So I was like,
Wow.
I don't know what this is. But like the second one, it gets way more comedic and becomes way more,
Okay.
I guess, geared towards for kids. Why that one is more, there's some scary stuff that goes on in that one.
I do
All
need to
right.
check that out.
Oh yeah, definitely. And then The Mummy. And I'll
Oh,
kind of
yeah.
cheat with this one with saying The Mummy and The Mummy Returns because I remember them both fondly watching The Mummy all the time on VHS and then Mummy Returns in the theaters. That was an awesome experience. But yeah, those are such fun movies
Hmm.
for adventure. They mix a little bit of horror in there. Uh, and they're a lot better than the original Mummy movie, which I watched for the first time recently. The Universal Classic Monsters.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my gosh, this one's a snooze fest. I don't know how people do it.
I've only picked up a few of the Universal monsters. That one I haven't. I don't have any interest in picking up the Mummy. Um, but I picked up a few. But I am excited. I don't have, you know what? I don't think I have any Brendan Fraser in my collection. But I was just so pumped to see his career rejuvenated over the last,
Oh yeah.
2 years. So that's been cool to see for him. I feel pretty happy for him.
Did you end up seeing The Whale?
I still haven't seen it.
Oh, that's an emotional one. That's a
Okay,
tearjerker for sure. Yeah. I was
cool.
happy you won for it. I'm like, that's an amazing performance.
Cool. And I'm just, yeah, to see him, the journey he's had to get back to this place, it is pretty cool to watch that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I need more of him in my collection. There's like so many Brendan Fraser movies I enjoyed. Also like Blast from the Past. I'm like, I need some
absolutely.
physical and
Yeah. Well, cool, man. All right. Next question for you. What five films have had the greatest impact on you? It could be emotionally, it could be your worldview, um, ideas, anything, or even
all
just
right.
your love of film. Yeah, just five films that had the greatest impact on you.
Absolutely. Sorry, just moving some movies around so I can grab them here. But yeah, we were talking the Rocky Creed franchises. So Creed 2,
Yeah.
yes. Creed 2. I love this one. This is also an underrated one. So yeah, Creed 2, amazing movie, doesn't get enough credit. Once again, I'm a big Rocky 4 fan, so to see Drago again
Yep.
and to see his son show up, but they do a brilliant job explaining the background of that, his side of things, his story. Like when he goes into the Adrian restaurant, he's just sitting there. Rocky is like, "Is that you?" And he's like, "Oh, no picture of me on the wall." He's like, "Yeah, no picture of you." Um, and then he starts talking, and Rocky's like, "Dude, that was like a million years ago." And he's like, "Yesterday to me." Ooh, that line just hits you like none other. And that just shapes kind of a view that no matter what, no matter how great you think you are or how good you are, whatever it might be, you're always the villain in someone else's story,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Even, like Rocky was painted as a hero, right? But still, severely impacted, Drago and his family and all that stuff. So I love seeing that. I love seeing that dynamic. That was really interesting to me. But yeah, Rocky is great in here, training Creed, and Creed getting broken down. I love those stories too, where you see a hero character, they get broken down, but then they relearn something about themselves, they retrain, they get better, and then they conquer, their opposition by the end of it. So that is great too, because he gets taken out by a Drago's kid like no other,
Yeah.
and then has to like relearn to be a fighter. And I love the training scenes in the desert, and then oh my gosh, that was great. So I really like Creed too.
I loved the what got me big was reuniting Rocky and his son. At the end, where
Yes.
they're starting to tie some things together at the end, that wrecked me. Because I just, yeah, what I love about the Rocky films and into the Creed films is you're literally seeing Stallone like go from a young man to an older man, and you've now seen the whole story. And I was just really emotional in that one. What did you think of Creed 3?
Okay, so that is besides, director's cut of Rocky 4, I think I would put Creed 3 at the bottom of
Yeah, me too.
all of the Rocky and Creed franchise. And it had some potential, but I think it fell apart because, Michael B. Jordan is directing and acting in the movie. And every time I've seen that, which I haven't seen a lot of them, but every time I see where the director, they take on a directing role, but they're also acting in the movie, it's just tough. It's tough to balance all those hats, do all those jobs, and one area is going to suffer, or actually probably both of the areas. Like I just saw that with Insidious: The Red Door, where the main actor became the director too, and I'm like, okay, he totally phoned in the acting though now.
Hmm.
So I think that was a little bit of the issue there. And there's just some things done with the story that threw me off. Like the fight at the end. The fight at the end could have been so good, but it skips most of the fight. They go
Yeah,
into that, like what, like a prison fighting kind of scenario, and then they wake up and it's what, like round 12 or something. It's like,
yeah,
wait, what happened to the whole fight? What's going on? That's where you would have wanted another director to be like, oh, okay, no, how we should tell the story is let's actually, show more rounds of the fight, right?
yeah, yeah.
So little things like that in there. It's still a good movie. I still enjoyed it a lot. I do really like what was it? Oh, the performance by Jonathan Majors.
Oh yeah,
Really good villain in there.
yeah.
Oh, I hated what they did with him at the end though. Um, at the end, I did not buy that he would have been cool with everything. Like
Right.
I felt that they should have kept him for a Creed 4 and have him come back and that could be like an ongoing thing. But yeah, so it's like little things like that in the
Yeah.
movie that bring it down for me. But overall, still a good movie. I watch it all the time.
Yeah, I would say the fight thing, I noticed the exact same thing. Like part of the journey of any Creed or Rocky film is seeing this battle happen in the ring where they're worn down. You're like, are they going to make it? Are they going to pull out? And that just wasn't there. And then the other thing that just kind of took me out of the whole story was you, so for the funeral for his mom, Rocky
Oh,
would have absolutely been there. There's no
mhm.
way Rocky would have missed that. He would have been present for that. And that fight, I think he would have probably been there for that fight. And so to not have that him be there, it doesn't make sense for the character of Rocky and their relationship. The only way you could have remedied that was to, in somewhere in the story, say, and Rocky died, a
Mhm.
year ago or
Which I
two
wouldn't
years
have
ago.
wanted that either. It's like
No,
that wouldn't have been good either.
no. So I feel like that you're right. The story was just jumbled. It didn't feel like it fit in the whole thing. I think if you took it out, if and just said this is a boxing movie, I would have been like, oh, that was a pretty cool boxing
Oh
movie,
yeah.
with a really neat story behind it. But just knowing Rocky's shadow over it, it just was weird to me. But
Yeah. Yeah, I would have definitely taken Sylvester Stallone in there in some kind of capacity,
yeah,
but there was all that drama issues going around, and oh gosh,
with the
you
money
know
and
what? I would
everything,
have had him directed. Have Sylvester Stallone direct another one. Why not?
yeah, it would have been good. Hopefully they don't end the Creed thing there, and
Oh yeah.
you have to resolve the Rocky part. That has to be there.
Mhm. Yeah.
So anyway, but Creed 2 is great, man. I love it.
Yeah, and then our next choice here, Joker. Oh my goodness. Such a heart-wrenching movie. This movie came out of nowhere for me too. Joker is my favorite villain of all time, but I didn't think, Joaquin Phoenix, is he going to live up to the Joker mantle? Heath Ledger, such a great Joker. Can he do it? He totally pulls it off for the kind of movie this is. Such a dark drama where it's like a downward spiral of this character. And it's like, you want to look away, but you can't look away. You're
Yeah,
like, what's going on here? But I love how they put in the social commentary of, you know, uh, people being abandoned, right? Or not caring about certain people. And things of that nature, right? Like closing off the program so he can get his medicine and go to the psycho and all that stuff. It's like, oh my gosh, such real world hitting stuff right here. So I thought that was very like real. Like you see this type of stuff happens in our world and things of that nature, and just it gets tough out there in the real world
yeah,
sometimes. So it's like, it just and this movie is just filmed beautifully.
yeah,
All the sequences with like him dancing and things of that nature, and the music too. The music is so good with the string instruments. Yeah, to me, it's just all around a great movie. But yeah, it's a very good cautionary tale, I guess, for society out there. So it's always stuck with me.
yeah. I told a friend, someone asked me, like, I heard it's really dark. And I was like,
It is.
absolutely. And they're like, is it because there's a ton of killing? And I was like, no, if you watch John Wick, there's going to be thousands of bodies hit the ground. And this one, there's going to be a handful, but the nature of it is so much darker that this
Oh yeah.
film feels very heavy and dark. And I remember in the theater, I went to see it. It was fairly full. And there was when he was laughing, when he starts laughing,
Oh,
there was a
you
few
feel the
people.
pain of that.
Yeah. But there was a few people in the room, I don't think who understood. And they were giggling and laughing when he would
Mm.
laugh. But within 20, 30 minutes of that film, it was complete silence. And then when the film ended, everyone walked out in silence because it was just so heavy. And then that last scene down the hallway. Um,
Oh, that was such a great scene too.
yeah.
Oh my
Yeah, that is
goodness.
a powerful film for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, and I saw it twice in theater. I'm like, I gotta go back and see this again. This was so good. And then next up, got The Punisher. Yes, the Thomas Jane one. To me, Punisher is my favorite superhero character of all time, so how can I not put this one on the list? And
Nice.
Thomas Jane is so good in the role of the character. But I mean, you feel for the Punisher in this one, like literally how his family gets taken out, and then basically he becomes literally the Punisher, the boogeyman. Uh, just a really well done movie, and similar to the Joker, it's one that's kind of heart wrenching to watch, and oh my goodness type of thing. But you know what? It made the Punisher my favorite character of all time. So I had to choose it for that reason. But all the action stuff's great in it. I think John Travolta actually does a pretty decent job too.
Mhm.
But the stuff at the end with the Punisher being so tactical and how he goes into the building and all that stuff, that's just a great scene. All right, and then the next up here, like I said, I got some superhero movies because that's my go-to
All
genre.
good.
We were just talking some Christopher Nolan.
Yeah.
This is my favorite Nolan movie of all time. This
Wow.
is my favorite movie ever, actually. This is number one out of any
Wow.
movie out there. I love The Dark Knight Rises. Doesn't get as much love, unfortunately. Just it doesn't. The Dark Knight gets brought up a lot. Then people will bring up Batman Begins, but a lot of people don't care for Rises. I don't get it. To me, this movie is so emotionally powerful, and the scene really where it gets me is he gets broken down by Bane, right? I was wondering what would break first, your spirit or your body. And he breaks him down, puts him in the cave, and he has to train and rise again, and all the chanting that goes on, and he embraces fear to get out of the cave. All that to me is such an emotional, powerful scene about, hey, no matter how much you get broken down, you can rise again. It's like a phoenix rising. So that's why I put it in this section. I can watch this one endlessly too. And of course, Tom Hardy is a great villain. I mean, Bane
Yeah.
is so good in the movie. You got an all-star cast too with the other characters. This movie just does everything for me. The music, the action, just visually, how it sounds, everything to me is perfection in this movie. I mean, I would have maybe changed a few things at the end, but other than that, really, really good. Doesn't get talked about enough.
So the rumors are that Heath was supposed to be in that one as well. That Heath and Bane
Yeah.
would have been there. What do you think of that? That you'd have both those
Oh yeah,
characters?
that would have been amazing. I will
Yeah.
take more Heath Ledger Joker any day. That would have been awesome. Yeah. But I mean, I think under the circumstances, they pulled it off probably the best they could. And
Yeah.
also, what's really cool about the movie is it makes me appreciate Batman Begins even more because they tie it so much into Batman Begins with the League of Shadows and Ra's al Ghul and Talia al Ghul and all of that. It makes me appreciate the first one even more. So that's another good thing about the movie. So
Yeah.
they still pulled it off the best they could, I think.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Heath in that role. I've never gone to a theater to see the same movie more than once. Never. And to this day, except for that. And I went and saw The Dark Knight 3 times in IMAX. I just kept taking different people who hadn't seen it and said, we got to go. And I could not take my eyes off the screen. And the entire movie, I just wanted Heath to be on the screen because he was so captivating. And I've been waiting, and I don't know if it'll ever happen, but I would love to have a more, like, if there's like deleted stuff from Heath, if there's anything, I would love it. And I was talking to my friend Stephanie at Movie Chatter. We were talking about films that we think could make the Criterion Collection. Maybe that would be not traditional films. And I think if there's ever going to be a superhero film, I think that'd be an amazing Criterion
Oh yeah.
release because that performance was unbelievable. Like, and everyone else did great too, but Heath's was just so insane that. So if there's going to be a superhero one, I'd love to see that one. And with
Oh yeah.
Nolan still around and Bale still around, you just have all these so much commentary you could have over the film. It'd be, I think, amazing.
Oh yeah. And imagine a trilogy release
Oh,
onto
box set.
Criterion. Ooh, that would be so awesome.
Well, and with all of the people that you have still alive from those films, the commentaries over all three of those, the making of, and the artwork you'd have with that box set,
Mm,
it'd be unbelievable.
I know. I mean, just for the interviews alone, for whoever they could get, I would.
Yeah.
And I don't usually double dip. That would be one I would double dip on.
Well, I watched your video on that you are supportive of those who do, but you
Yeah.
personally do not.
Yeah, for me to double dip, it's so rare. And I don't think I've, and if you don't count upgrading formats, I don't think I've ever double dip. Like like I upgraded the Rocky franchise from DVD to Blu-ray, like things like that, or DVDs to
Right.
4Ks, but I've never got multiple 4K discs of something. Um, Unless it was like I got a standalone one and then later pick up a collection franchise, so obviously the same one was in there.
Right.
Other than that, no.
Yeah. That's a great pick, man.
All right, and then the last one here in this section, Collateral Beauty. I brought it up on my time stream. This movie is my go-to holiday movie. Nobody talks about it, but this is just so emotionally impactful and how it makes you appreciate life and the people around you. Because basically Will Smith's character, something tragic happens, but he's visited by, I guess, you could say three entities, kind of, or three messages. One is time that I already talked about, but also death and love. And so it basically gets all those themes and messages tackled within that movie, and they just make you so emotional. I cry like a baby every time I see this movie. It's so good. Yeah, to me this is the Will Smith performance here. King Richard was great. I love that movie, but Collateral Beauty, I'm telling you, this is a gem right there.
Well, when you mentioned that last night, I threw it in my Amazon cart and I just kept tossing titles in from that stream and then went home to watch through trailers. And I won't, for any of you who haven't seen that film, I won't ruin it. But that tragic thing that you were talking about when I watched the trailer, I was like, there's very few things that will stop me from watching a film. But that was like, I don't know if I can handle that. Like, I
Yeah,
think, like, even the movie The Shack. I don't know if you've ever seen that.
no, I haven't seen that one.
Some people have told me to watch that for years, and because of the content, the tragedy, the type of tragedy, I was like, I just physically am unable to watch that movie. And I eventually, like years later, I succumbed and watched it. And it's powerful, but I don't know if I'll ever watch it again. So maybe that film you brought up, so intrigued me how you were talking about it last night. So I do still have it on my Amazon, and it's
Yeah.
possible one day, but I was like, oh, I don't know if I can do this one. And I can
Yeah,
totally
some
see
of the
why.
areas will be tough for sure, but what I like about it, it does end on a very hopeful message.
Okay,
So
cool.
I do like how it ends.
Well, I know you said it was just very emotional. And
It is.
when I was watching the
Mhm.
trailer, I was like, oh, okay, this is exactly what Mike was talking about.
Mhm.
Cool. All right. Well, question number 4. What 5 films do you consider to be underrated films? And I know this is a tougher question for some because it's all, you know, based on opinion. But for you, what would you say 5 films that you think should get a little more love?
Yeah, definitely films that need more love here. First, I knew I was going to bring up Shazam, right? Shazam
There you
Fury of
go.
the Gods. Nobody saw this movie in theaters. It made
No.
like $5 at the box office. And what a shame. To me, this is my second favorite film of the year so far, right
Wow.
behind Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. But they're very close. Like you asked me another day, I might say this is a go-to of the year. But this movie has everything you love about the first Shazam movie. So if you like Shazam 1, you'll like this too. If you didn't like Shazam 1, this won't work for you at all. But it has great family dynamics in there. You do get the emotions that come across, and they include all the family characters. Even the parents get great screen time in this movie. You got more fantasy adventure elements in there with like dragon and other mythological creatures. So that's just a lot of fun. Zachary Levi is just a great character. And what I like about the Shazam character is he's actually a superhero that has fun being a superhero and that wants to be a superhero. Not like Batman, who was always sad all the time, like, oh, gotta be Batman today. He's like, yeah, I gotta be a superhero and fight a dragon. That I just love. And it's so funny, heartfelt, great action. To me, it doesn't do anything wrong, really. So yeah, nobody talks about this one, but people got to see this one. If you like superheroes, Shazam one, oh, sequel is so good. But we'll never get a Shazam 3 now. Yeah, that one's so good. And then the best Western of all time, if you consider it a Western, Holes. I love Holes. Such a great family movie. And I was so shocked to find out that people don't care for this one. I don't know why. This movie is great. The cast is amazing. Shia LaBeouf is so good in the movie. You get Sigourney Weaver in there, and just such great cast members all around. But I love how it combines, the two timelines. It has the Western stuff with Kiss and Kate Barlow and all that, and you get the emotions that come across with her relationship with Sam and all that. But then it connects with the current timeline. That's just a lot of fun too. I mean, going up to the mountain, climbing up to try to get an ice cream sundae, and then they get all these sweet onions. And it's just a really well written story. And I love the ending. It answers mostly all your questions. It ties everything up very nicely. Very positive, happy ending. The music is great in here too. Like the rap they came up for the movie. Such a fun time, but yeah, just does everything a movie should, in my opinion. So I love Holes. Does not get talked about enough. I want this on Criterion. Give me a 4K of this.
I've never seen it, so I wrote it down. I got to check out that trailer later.
Oh yeah, yeah. If you're into family, it is family Disney movie. If you're into that genre, it's the best.
Cool.
So good. All right, next up, we got to have a movie that represents the best video game franchise of all time. Mortal Kombat 95. Oh, talk about great soundtracks here. Mortal Kombat. Oh, so entertaining. This movie has everything. Once again, a great cast. The martial arts is fantastic in this movie. And a lot of people didn't like this one because they didn't get the fatalities and the blood and the gore, right? It's way different than that from the games with the mature rating. But to me, that's the gravy stuff. Once again, to me, how does the story play out? That's the most important thing. The story is great. And they actually have a Mortal Kombat tournament in the movie, unlike the new movie, which was just awful. This is so fun, very underrated. Yeah, love
Never
Mortal
seen
Kombat
that either.
No, have you seen any of the Mortal Kombats? Have you seen the newest one?
I know there was one, I don't know what it is, but in 1996 or 97 wasn't
Oh,
the one?
Annihilation. Was
That's the
that
only one
the
I've seen.
sequel to the? Oh gosh. Oh.
And it was in the theater. I remember going to see it and with a friend. So that's the only one I've seen.
Oh
I
gosh. Yeah.
distinctly remember going. Yeah.
Yeah, that one. Yeah, that one is not a well-made movie. But I mean, I can still have fun with it as a fan, but they get a lot of the characters wrong and the story's not good.
Okay.
The dialogue, the effects aren't good. So if that was your first taste of Mortal Kombat, go back to Mortal Kombat 95. You're gonna be like, that's a masterpiece compared to that other one. All right, and then another movie from M. Night Shyamalan that never gets talked about, but is one of my favorite films. Glass. Nobody talks about Glass. Everybody talks about Unbreakable and then Split. But to me, Glass has some of the best performances I've ever seen. James McAvoy in this movie is even better than he is in Split. How he transitions his performances just so quickly, like literally within a couple seconds to being different personalities, even speaking in Spanish at one point. It's so quick. You're like, how is he doing this in real time? This is insane. Great performance there. Samuel L. Jackson is awesome in the role. I've always liked the Mr. Glass character and how it ties the whole trilogy together with having all the characters. And then I really like the ending. I know some people didn't like the ending. I like the ending. I think it ends in probably the only way it could. If it had a bigger budget, yeah, you could have had more action, but that's not a Shyamalan film. I don't know why people were expecting, giant
Right.
superhero action. But performances alone, the twist in there, just I love this movie, and it doesn't get talked about like the other ones in the trilogy. So
I was going to say that's the only two I've seen. Were the first two. I didn't see Glass myself, so I wrote that down
that's
too.
Glass is so good. Yeah, very underrated. All right, and then one of my favorite comedies of all time, written by John Hughes, Career Opportunities, which most people, when they think John Hughes, they don't talk about this movie. I don't know why. This movie's great. You got Frank Whaley, you got Jennifer Connelly riding a little horse in there. If you know, you know. But it's just a super fun movie. It's hilarious. You even get a John Candy in there for a little bit, little cameo in there. But this movie just it makes you laugh. It's well paced, and it takes place mostly in one setting, a Target. So Target
Right?
exclusive 4K. Let's go. But I know. Could you imagine a lenticular cover on there, the Target sign lighting? It would have been perfect. See, yeah, I love Career Opportunities, and nobody talks about this John Hughes movie. So,
Nice, man. Great picks. Yeah, I again, I get to go home and watch trailers and for films I haven't seen yet. All right, man. Last question. This is one I really enjoy hearing from people, their picks. What 5 films bring you the most joy, hope, laughter? They put a smile on your face.
all right. So, The Adjustment Bureau, another one I brought up in the time stream. But it ends with such a hopeful message of, nothing is predetermined, I guess, for you, right? You can always, I guess, change the plan and kind of fight for what you want. I'm a sucker for romance stories, to see a romance triumph here. And they're so good in here. Emily Blunt and Matt Damon, great performances. But to see him fight against just like, okay, these people are saying, no, you have to do it this way. You can't end up with her. You're destined to do this. And they try to stop him at every turn. But in the end, the love conquers all. So I just love that. I love that. I love that messaging and themes and just, gives me hope. So yeah, a lot of people don't talk about this movie either, but The Adjustment Bureau, very, very good.
I always just when I think of that movie, I just think of the hat he wore.
Oh, that was so cool.
Yeah.
Walking through different doors. I'm like, can my hat do that? I want to try that. All right, and then of course I got more Rocky movies here. So Rocky
Ah,
Balboa,
so
yes,
good.
never give up, never stop believing. This movie, such a hopeful just message, right? He has more left in the tank. He has something he wants to do. The world's against him. Everybody thinks he's too old. He can't do it. But he shows them wrong, and he walks out to the "We Got High, High Hope" song. Oh, that was such a great moment. But just to see him fight, give it all, just like he normally would do as the Rocky character. And that's what the Rocky character is always about anyway. Just give it your heart every time. And that's how you're gonna do good in matches and how you might win and all of that. So yeah, he puts up the fight. He does a great job, and yeah, very emotional movie. And I love when they get into that dialogue scene with him and his son, and he's like, "Hey, talking about quitting and stuff." He's like, "It doesn't matter how hard you get knocked down. It's about getting up again." And he just goes
Mhm.
into this whole monologue of not giving up. Ooh, that scene can bring you to tears right
Yeah.
there. So that scene alone to me, gives you a lot of hope of, hey, in life, things are gonna happen. You're gonna get knocked down. It's gonna happen. No life's a perfect life, but you just gotta get back up and keep fighting. So
Yeah.
yeah.
That one, when I heard that it was coming out, I was so disappointed. I was like, he is so old. This is going to be the lamest thing ever. And I was so bummed out about it. And I went with a friend who was also a massive Rocky fan, who's like probably 15, 20 years older than I am. And I remember sitting in the theater, just tears coming down my face. Um, and my second favorite character in the whole series is Paulie. And
Oh yes.
for me, there was such heart for Paulie, the regret when he's looking back and how he treated Adrian and just kind of how he lived his life. He has anything to show for himself. The conversation with he and Stallone in that basement, the conversation in the alleyway. For me, man, there's so much in that film that just wrecks me. And then how he leaves the ring at the end and they bring him back out like he doesn't want there's just like so much. It's an amazing film. I love it.
Yeah, the story is just so well written and it's so believable too, because
Yeah.
you're like, how is he going to take on this other person? How is he going to go toe to toe? But they make it make sense. Like the other guy gets an injury, so obviously he's going to be weaker, and so now we can get a fight going. So I love how they do that. It's like attention to details like that. And also, you never know how a fight's going to end in a Rocky movie. Is he going to win? Is he going to lose? Is it going to be a tie? Is it going to be a knockout? Is it going to be won by time? I love that about the franchise. That's how they keep it fresh, and it
Yeah.
does it better than any other franchise.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought that one. That's a great, great film.
All right, and then yeah, just movies that make me laugh, right? Movies that put a smile on my face. I gotta have a couple comedies in here too. So really I could go with any of the American Pie movies. My favorite's American Wedding. So if I just need a good laughter, I need a good cheering up. American Wedding, it is so funny. I love the raunchy comedies, nonstop laughter. I remember just me and my brother and my dad seeing the movie in theaters, and usually, I didn't expect my dad to like it because he's not really into the raunchy comedies and that type of stuff. He was laughing too, so I'm like, oh my goodness, that movie totally works. But yeah, very funny movies, and it's just good coming of age stories too. I'm a
Mhm.
sucker for the coming of age stories. Hmm. And then another raunchy comedy, one when you need a good laugh. Gotta have Euro Trip. Scotty doesn't know. Such a funny movie. They're going to Europe and
Mhm.
trying to find his love, right? Trying to reunite with his love, and they get into all sorts of shenanigans, get lost along the way, and just crazy, outrageous stuff happens. But super funny movie. And I love the Scotty Doesn't Know song either. Like I would like put the sing along version to that with this movie, and I'm like, oh, that's such a fun song.
Crazy.
All right. And then a recent one, very, very recent, but now I can watch this one all the time. You got to have Top Gun Maverick.
Ah,
So good. Endless rewatchability for me. Does everything perfect for a movie. Tom Cruise is so good in this movie, not only with the acting, with the emotions, but also with just his stunt work. His stunt work is unbelievable at the age he is now, and he
yeah.
still keeps it going. So the action's thrilling. All the supporting cast is great. You care for every character in the movie, even Bob. You care for Bob in the movie. I don't know how they do that. But it has everything. It has all the nostalgia stuff of like the beach football scene, great music in there, Lady Gaga singing. Uh, and it's a very thrilling movie. It's just a good time. Oh, the Val Kilmer stuff. Ooh, with Iceman, that gets you emotional. It has everything: action, emotions, comedy, romance. It covers it all. And so that's why I love Top Gun Maverick. And just yet that line where he says, where he's like, the AI is coming. You're not going to be in this, needed in this field anymore. And he's like, maybe so, but not today. So I always think of that line, but not today. Right? When people are like, oh, physical media is going to go away. Maybe so, but not today.
I just remember I haven't seen that one yet, but I remember so many everybody I know who saw it came back and was just like that was one of the most unbelievable theater experiences I've ever had. Everybody I know who saw it said the
Mhm.
same thing.
Yeah, I saw that one in theaters twice. I could have easily seen it more in theaters. Yeah, I don't think I know anybody that didn't like the movie. Everybody I've talked to loves the movie. Yeah, it's a. I can't believe you haven't seen it yet.
So
You
this is the thing,
oh,
and I hope this doesn't end the friendship we literally just started yesterday. Um, so I'm not the biggest Tom Cruise guy, and I know you
no
just
worries, no
recently did
worries.
a Tom
Mhm.
Cruise stream. Um, I think my favorite role of his of all time is Collateral.
Oh,
I
very good.
just
Hmm.
he floored me in that film. And because he was so Tom Cruise for me, I always see there's always Tom Cruise. He's Tom Cruise is in there. And
Yep.
which is it's Tom Cruise, of course. But Collateral, I was like, I forgot that it was Tom Cruise playing that role. And every once in a while, like with Denzel, there's a certain role Denzel will play where I'm like, I forgot Denzel's in the film. And Tom, for me, in that film, just killed it. And the other one I really liked was American Made.
Oh yeah, yeah, that was a fun one.
That blew me away too. That was like such a great, well written. It had me on the edge of my seat the entire time. And then, of course, when he's playing the fella and he's dancing, what is it in?
Oh, Risky Business.
No,
Or
when he's got the fingers and he had the fat suit on and he was bald. Oh,
oh yeah, Tropic Thunder.
Tropic Thunder.
Yes.
I was not expecting that from him. And so when Tom Cruise, when he gives me something that I was like, did not expect it, and I don't see Tom Cruise there, that's when I love him. So, and then I will say my favorite Mission Impossible film is everyone's least favorite. I love MI2.
Oh yeah, MI2 is a good time. I mean, I would maybe put that towards the end, but all the MI movies are good to great. My favorite's 3 actually, just because I love the villain
Okay.
in there. With Philip Seymour Hoffman, that
Yeah.
is my favorite MI villain. So I'm like, it wins it on that alone.
Nice. Yeah. And I just remember the soundtrack coming out for MI2, and I just love the soundtrack to it. So I think that kind of hooked me on that film.
Oh yeah, it's very stylized too, and how it's filmed. There's really good action scenes in that one. I mean, the motorcycle chase and that whole ending showdown. I
Yeah.
think that's a fun movie. Yeah, I know people don't love it, but I'm like, that's still a good one. So
Well, it's John Woo, so you're
yeah.
expecting over the top wild stunts.
Mm.
But I will say this, as much as I'm not a Tom Cruise guy, there's nobody who I respect more when it comes to with that film. People always say he saved, Hollywood or the theater experience. They're not wrong. Like what he
Mhm.
brought in financially for that film when nobody else was making any money, and he stuck to his guns on that thing not being released till he wanted it released. And so I got to give it to him. And you're right, the stunts that guy's doing it doesn't matter at his age for sure, but at all, he's unbelievable. So I have the highest level of respect for him as an actor for sure.
Yeah, I highly recommend Maverick. If I were to recommend one movie in terms of the safest movie to watch that I think most people would enjoy if they haven't seen it, it would have to be Maverick. I think Maverick appeals to everybody.
I do need to see it.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, and
just
then it was kind of curious because people were like shocked by Mission Impossible 7. They're like, this movie's not doing good at the box office. What, To me, it's kind of comparable to the other MI movies, so I don't think it's doing terrible, but people were expecting the Maverick level numbers, but it's not Maverick. Mission Impossible is way different than Top Gun. You're not going to get the same numbers, and then their budget ballooned and all that stuff. So,
yeah.
but yeah, Maverick's so good though.
Well, I see. I feel like for somebody like him, like I'm a big basketball fan, so it doesn't matter if you're Michael Jordan or LeBron James or Kobe or Shaq. Every season they play is MVP quality season, and you get so used to it that you're like, oh, year 7 he wasn't that good. He's like, no, he was the best player on the planet, but he didn't get MVP. And I feel like that's kind of true for guys like Tom Cruise with these movies. They're like, we've gotten so used to him at this level, you're almost like, it's okay. But it's like, no, that's way better than anybody else is doing it.
Yeah.
So no, I do need to see that one. Everybody I've talked to said it's amazing. And the Val Kilmer stuff I heard is very
So
emotional.
good. So good.
Cool, man. Well, man, thanks so much for picking these or doing these 5. You picked tons of titles that I have not seen. And so I'm always curious. There's occasionally crossover, Star Wars, ET, but you pick stuff, man, that I've never seen in any of and I'm like 25 episodes in, almost 30. So yeah, that's awesome, man.
Yeah, I think I chose more modern stuff here. Yeah, I don't think I had a lot of too many classics in here where I had mostly 90s and 2000 films. So,
Yeah, this was great. Awesome, man. Well, I appreciate you taking the time, Mike, to do this and stuff coming up on your channel that you'd like to make us aware of. I know you always have stuff coming on. You have videos coming up constantly, and I did see the graphic for what you guys have coming up this week, I believe.
oh yeah, the Collectors
Yeah.
Club week, that's just going to be a marathon of a ton of fun. I mean, literally, you got to go to all the Collectors Club members, subscribe to their channels, hit that notification bell because it's something every night. Kicking off with Collectors Club episode. I think we're on. It might be episode 5 by now, episode 4 or 5. But that's going to start on Huck's channel. Then, a few streams on Huck's channel to kick things off. And then Wednesday will be the Christopher Nolan stream where we run through his entire filmography on my channel. So that's going to be a lot of fun. Yeah, spoiler alert on what's going to be my favorite. You guys already know now. And then, yeah, we're going to go to Derek's channel for a movie poster tournament. We're going to go to Tim's channel for a movie recommendation kind of round robin. And then Saturday will be the recap show on my channel. So that's going to be a ton of live streams to fill up all of next week for me. But I still will have my normal content that comes out. So tomorrow I'm gonna have a movie physical media news topic video. Gonna rant on Disney. So whoever loves the rant on Disney, check out that video. It's a short little like 5-minute video. It's fun. So that will post tomorrow. I do want to get some out of the theater reactions for this weekend for Haunted Mansion and also the new A24 film Talk to Me. So I got to get those short reactions out. And then Sunday, before the Collectors Club show in the evening, on the morning on my channel, I'll have my weekly morning news show. So we'll discuss whatever is the most popular movie news stories out there. So that's always a lot of fun. But yeah, I mean, I think, and then like I said, my usual stuff will come out, like my Amazon Dill video, my Mega Movie Number video, maybe a ranking video in there of Criterion stuff, my July haul video. So I post at least something every day. Sometimes you get 2 things in a day. So it's going to be a stack week of stuff for you guys.
I have so much respect for all of you guys who are putting out that kind of content. So I've done a stretch of 30 days where I did a video a day, and I was exhausted. But you and Tony and Ken doing this every day, I highly, highly respect you guys for doing it, because it is a serious commitment.
I don't recommend it. I always tell people, cautionary tale. I do not recommend it. Slow down, everybody.
Honestly, man, I was like at nighttime, I was up at like 1 a.m, laying in bed with my phone, editing videos because I knew something had to come out tomorrow. So how you guys keep that pace? 30 days, I tapped out at 30 days.
Yeah, it's a lot of early mornings, late nights, weekends, just such a time sucker right there. And right now it's a little bit easier for me because I'm on my summer vacation, which is nice. So it's a little bit easier. But once we get back into the swing in the fall, I'm still gonna try to get out the same amount of content. I might be a little bit more tired on the live streams, but it happens. I'll just have to double up on stuff on the weekends again. Get a whole bunch of pre-recorded stuff.
Man. Well, that's awesome, man. And yeah, I've really enjoyed your channel, and getting to know you the last couple of days, getting to chat with you. It's been great, man. So thanks again for taking the time to do this. I really do appreciate it. Pulling 25 films for us. Yeah.
Absolutely. And thanks for having me again.
Cool, man. Well, friends, all down below will be all of Mike's information. So if you're not subscribed, if you're not following, please do that, and you won't be disappointed. There's a ton of great content constantly coming out. So yeah. Well, Mike, thank you so much, man. I hope you have a great night.
You too.
All right. Take care.